Hey everyone, this is the Rewriter writing in. For today's video, I'll be rewriting Azrael's side quest in Batman Arkham Knight. The payoff of this quest as a continuation of the prophecy from Arkham City was a letdown, to say the least. It felt too rushed, and frankly, it was pretty boring to play through. Arkham Knight really didn't have enough story-centered side quests, as they were more like search for this signal or dead person and follow the same procedure every time. We needed more side quests like Ra's al Ghul's Shadow War from the Season of Infamy, or Mr. Freeze's side quest, a self-contained story that almost felt like an episode of the animated series. I'm not saying that these side quests needed to be 4 hours long with tons of branching decision trees and huge main story ramifications, but at least it could have had a small story around it. Now, one thing I do want to know, this side quest rewrite will be for the original story of Arkham Knight, not either of my rewrites. But before we get into the rest of the video, if you enjoy this type of content and want to see more side quests from Arkham Knight or other games rewritten, hit that like button and give me some of your ideas in the comments section. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe too, that would be greatly appreciated. So with this intro out of the way, let's dive into Azrael's rewritten side quest. Picking up a scrambler from the grimy, wet sidewalk, Batman tells Lucius to decrypt it and pinpoint Arkham Knight's location. Lucius tells him that it will take some time, as Alfred calls, telling him that a new case has just been sent via GCPD dispatch. A mysterious hooded figure has been spotted on a rooftop in Grand Avenue, standing beside a burning bat symbol. It might be wise for Bruce to establish whether this interloper is friend or foe. Bruce nods his head, telling Alfred that this night just keeps getting longer. Using his grapnel gun to slingshot him into the rainy sky, Batman glides over Gotham, scanning for the burning bat symbol. Whether it's a beacon or a threat, he needs to get to the bottom of this before Scarecrow's plans take full effect. Due to the impact of Batman dive-bombing down in front of the figure, the fire reels back towards him as he stands up, sword drawn to the side. Azrael tells Batman that the prophecy is being fulfilled. Gotham is burning, and this flame will consume him too. He goes on to say that Batman will need a successor after this night is through, which Batman replies that he isn't finished yet. He doesn't believe in fairy tales, and asks Azrael what the Order of St. Dumas wants with Gotham. Azrael explains that the Order is made up of individuals who have lived in Gotham their whole lives, and seek to make a change to all the chaos recently. The Order was one of the only organizations to stand up against the League of Assassins before Batman and his allies came along. While we could not publicly attack him, we were against Dr. Strange and his genocide of the inmates long before his deal with Ra's al Ghul was brought to light. They are on the same side, as Azrael tells Batman that he can't continue on forever, and that he's been studying his moves for years, and knows that he can protect Gotham. Batman replies, telling Azrael that being able to fight like him isn't enough. He needs more skills than that to be able to truly protect Gotham. And besides, why should he trust him, seeing as he already has allies that could very easily become the new Batman in his stead? Azrael explains that his studies encapsulated every aspect of Batman's training, from his combat skills to stealth maneuvers, even down to the way he processes information for solving cases and outsmarting his opponents. Alfred calms into Bruce as he turns his back to Azrael, telling him that Master Dick has mentioned multiple times in the past that he doesn't feel like he belongs in Gotham anymore, and Master Tim, as brilliant as the boy is, isn't ready to take on the mantle of Batman. Even though he's just as hesitant to leave the fate of Gotham into the hands of a man they barely know, it might be the only option they have should something happen to him. Azrael speaks up, telling Batman that his companion is right, and that he is worth considering. He's up against an entire army. How does he possibly stand a chance against them? With him at his side, Gotham will be saved, even if it must suffer. Batman walks over to the edge of the roof, looking out at a militia checkpoint, and tells Azrael that if he really studied his moves, let's see how he does with this compound. He accepts the challenge, telling him that seeing him in action will reassure him for his final decision. Batman holds out his hand, telling Azrael to hand over the sword, which Azrael declines, telling Batman that there is a way to use his sword non-lethally. He will demonstrate. Batman replies, telling him that going up against these soldiers with just a sword is basically suicide, but this is his fight, and he'll be watching to see how he performs. Azrael tells Batman that he has a few tricks up his sleeve too, before leaping off the roof. As he's diving down, he reaches into his utility belt, pulling out a cross and extending it out as he pushes down, launching a giant spike that sticks to the side of the building. Using the momentum of his fall, he swings up, propelling him high into the air. Giant spikes come from his boots as he jams them into the wall, allowing him to run full speed up it. As he reaches the rooftop where all the militia troops are, he uses the whip again, flinging him up to the gargoyles. Scanning the area, all the guards are armed, as well as having automated turrets posted at the corners. There's also a spotlight that floods over them, ensuring that no surprise attacks could happen. At least, that's what they thought, as Azrael quickly moved to the spotlight, jamming his sword into the middle of it. The guards all look up to the rooftop as it loses light, only being bathed by the faint moonlight peeking through the thick storm clouds. The soldiers begin to shuffle, moving into defensive positions, as the commander of the control tower tells them that Batman is here and to follow the knight's instructions. They start to double up, moving in pairs along the catwalks. Seeing that he needed to take out the turrets first, Azrael moves around to the gargoyles and takes out multiple mini crosses with spikes that pop out of the sides, and throws them into the back of the control boxes, rendering them useless. An operator comes to one of the turrets to repair it, but is pinned in the shoulder by a spike and dragged into the darkness. One of the soldiers walking along the catwalk feels a prick in their neck and takes their gun, smashing the butt end of it into the other soldier's head before his eyes roll back and he drops to the ground. Azrael puts the dart gun back into his utility belt as the other soldiers come rushing towards them. The three soldiers that ran over to the fallen two stand in a triangle around them as smoke envelops them, and Azrael jumps down. His left arm gauntlet heats up as he shoots an energy blast, knocking out one soldier as the others open fire. Pulling the sword out of its sheath, he uses it to slash their weapons in half as he uses his gauntlets to slam them onto the ground. Just as he's taking down the last armed guard, a group comes out of an elevator, with not only just a couple armed guards, but ninjas and brutes as well. The ninjas fly at Azrael as he uses his sword to counter their strikes. The construction of his sword was much sturdier than the flimsy katanas that they were using, as they broke in pieces when clashing with his blade. After besting the ninjas, the brutes barreled towards him, throwing out punches with the force of freight trains, cracking the floor and other structures around them. He pulled out his dart gun, shooting one of the brutes twice, enough to turn him against his fellow brute, and they began to slug at each other. Turning his attention to the armed and unarmed thugs, he began to attack them with ferocity and speed. Watching Azrael, Batman could see that he could be easily killing these men, as he has the skills to do so, but is showing an even greater level of skill by not. He knows exactly where to hit to simply knock them out, as well as how hard he's punching and kicking them. Alfred calms into Bruce, saying that Azrael is a formidable combatant, as well as a disciplined one, showing great constraint against them. He's capable of taking on the militia without any help. They can't not take him into consideration for his contribution to this fight. Bruce agrees that his skills are impressive, but there's still a lot of gray area, like what the Order of Saint Dumas really wants with Gotham, and Azrael's role in it. Alfred replies that perhaps under his wing, Azrael will learn how to become a true hero, like he is. Bruce tells Alfred that he could be a costly risk if things go sideways. Alfred tells Bruce to keep what he has told him before in remembrance before making any decisions. Bruce tells Alfred that he will, but that he's not done testing him. Once the militia are all taken down, Batman glides down to Azrael, saying that his combat and stealth skills are impressive, but he still has to showcase another skill if he is to become his successor. Azrael tells him that he is ready for any task he throws at him, and that he will prove himself, whatever it takes. Lucius contacts Batman, telling him that the Scrambler has been decoded, and that the Arkham Knight's location has been revealed. Batman tells Lucius that he's on his way, before also telling Azrael to meet him above Panessa Studios in a few hours. Azrael nods his head as he leaps off the building. Batman stands atop the tower above Panessa, looking out toward the city newly cleansed of Scarecrow's fear toxin, but at the cost of Ivy's life. If she can die a hero, then perhaps Azrael could be one too. Just then, he appears behind him, saying that he is ready for his next test. Batman tells him to look out, seeing what appeared to be some sort of turf war between militia troops and radical Two-Face thugs. He explains that in order to stop this, Azrael will need to know how to work in a team. Just then, Robin and Nightwing zip up to the balcony with them, with Batman explaining that they will all need to work together to take them down. Nightwing is the lead, with Azrael and Robin backing him up. Just wearing the cape and cowl doesn't automatically make someone a leader. That's earned by trust and the actions of the individual. Batman learns and is helped by his allies, making them a true team. It's not just Batman giving out orders and everyone following them blindly. Nightwing chimes in, telling Azrael that he'll try to go easy on him, but Azrael replies that he does not require babysitting. He will adhere to Batman's request. Out in the city, militia tanks are chasing hijacked cars as gunshots are ringing out. Nightwing tells Robin to get on his motorcycle while he gets into the Batmobile to take care of the vehicles. He instructs Azrael to take out the thugs on the rooftops with the rockets and snipers so that they don't get shot to pieces. Azrael nods his head, using his spiked claw to swing from the rooftops and get into position. Cars begin flipping into the air as the Batmobile tears through them with ease, and Azrael begins taking down the coordinating snipers. As he's taking down the snipers, Azrael sees that they are wheeling out a massive tank that could level any vehicle in its path, and it's heading straight for Robin's bike. Azrael calms into Robin, telling him that he needs to redirect and go from the south side, or he'd be face to face with a tank. Robin acknowledges Azrael in the nick of time as he strafes around a missile. Robin thanks Azrael for saving his life, with Nightwing telling Azrael that he is making this mission a whole lot easier, and thanks him. Nightwing pulls in with the Batmobile, shooting the tank in its weak points and taking it down before the militia fled back to their main base. After that, it was simple to take down the ragtag thugs that were left. After the downtown streets of Bleak Island are free from the mini turf war, they all get back to Vanessa Studios, where Batman is at the Batcomputer compiling additional data on the Arkham Knight. Nightwing comes up to Batman, saying that Azrael made for a valuable asset out there, even making a call that saved Robin's life. Robin replies, saying that Azrael held his own out there, and that he could make for a good addition to the team, if that's what Batman wants. Here in this moment is where the player makes a choice: accept Azrael into the Bat family, or deny Azrael, forcing him to leave Gotham. Here's the scenario if you accept Azrael into the Bat family. After considering his options for a moment, Batman holds out his hand to Azrael, welcoming him into the Bat family, but tells him that they are going to keep a watchful eye on him, as this arrangement is new and fragile. Azrael shakes Batman's hand, telling him that this is a fair assessment, and that he accepts this stipulation. Nightwing bumps him with his elbow, telling him welcome to the team. Batman calms Alfred, telling him and Oracle that Azrael will be helping out, but that he's going to be escorted by Nightwing into the Batcave for some analysis. Alfred replies, saying that even though there are still some unknowns, Azrael will provide a formidable force against the militia. Batman tells Alfred to prepare the testing center, and then tells Nightwing to take him there. Batman tells Robin to keep working on the antidote for Joker's blood in his system, while he goes back out to take care of Scarecrow. Once all the militia tanks in front of the GCPD are destroyed, Batman received a distress call from Alfred, informing him to get back to the cave immediately. Once he gets there, he sees Azrael battling with Robin and Nightwing. They're trading blow for blow as Azrael counters a punch from Robin and hurls him back against a wall, knocking him out. Batman flies in, using his grapnel gun to yank Azrael's sword out of his hand. Azrael looks to his side to see Batman and lunges at him as they begin to fight. Batman could see the similarities of his fighting style in Azrael, as he was countering every punch and kick with incredible speed. He began using his claw as a whip to knock back Batman, and then threw his spiked crosses as one hit Batman's shoulder between the plates, piercing his skin. As Nightwing attempted to jump at him, Azrael shot an energy blast, causing him to reel back in pain from the impact. He was predicting Batman's attacks before he was even making them, making this fight harder than most Batman had been dealing with tonight. However, things were different, as Nightwing was here to help, and they were in Batman's home turf. Azrael switched targets to Nightwing once he had knocked Batman to the ground, but Batman began using his gauntlet to connect to the hanging Batwing, reactivating its weapons array. The headlights began to turn on as the missile launchers pointed at Azrael. He fired a shot that landed near him, sending Azrael reeling back. Nightwing then puts his Eskrima sticks together, shooting a beam of electricity into Azrael's chest, frying the cross that bore on his armor. Dazed from the blasts, Azrael became easy prey for Batman and Nightwing. They both punched him from either side, knocking him to the ground before using a wire to rope him up to a gurney. Helping Robin up, Batman asks what happened. Nightwing replies that they took him back here and did some simple tests on him, including a brainwave scan to check for irregularities. Suddenly, the Bat computer started showing images that looked like memories and tangled with other scenes, almost like these were put into his brain by a third party. But then a voice came from the images, saying that now that he had gained the Batman's trust, it was time to strike him down and reclaim Gotham back for the Order. After this message played, Azrael just went berserk and started attacking them. Just then, Azrael wakes up and looks at the replayed images displayed on the screen, telling them that he had no idea of the extensive programming they had inside him. He seeks revenge for all the lies that the Order fed him, ensuring them that he never had any desire to kill Batman or his allies. Batman answers back, saying that for this very reason is why he wanted Azrael in the Batcave. Robin answers back, asking if Batman knew this was going to happen. He replies, saying that he didn't know this would happen exactly, but knew that something wasn't right, and that the fallout would have the least impact if it were in a controlled environment like the Batcave. Azrael then tells Batman that he will fight against the conditioning, and that when this battle against the Arkham Knight is ended, then he will take down the Order, ensuring they lose all power that they have. Batman frees Azrael, telling him that once this is all over, he'll help him in his endeavor. Azrael shakes Batman's hand, telling him that his help will be greatly appreciated. After some consideration, Batman tells Azrael that there are too many unknowns about the Order of Saint Dumas and his role in their plans with Gotham. For this reason, he doesn't trust Azrael to be a part of the team and tells him to leave Gotham. Azrael stands back in anger, telling Batman that he has passed his tests, even saving the life of one of his allies. What more must he do to prove his worth to him? Batman tells Azrael that they have enough to deal with tonight, and that having to worry about him would take them off their main goal of stopping Crane and the Arkham Knight. His decision is final. Azrael needs to leave, now. Azrael informs him that he's making a grave mistake, and that Gotham will fall because of his stubbornness. Suddenly, a cloud of smoke envelops Azrael as he disappears, leaving a symbol on the ground that related to the symbols from Arkham City. Batman tells Robin and Nightwing that the risk was too high, and that they can handle things here without him. This is what he trained them for anyway. Alfred calms to Bruce, telling him that although he doesn't oppose Bruce's decision, he does wonder if this will bring about more trouble than he anticipated. Bruce reassures Alfred, telling him that he won't let Gotham down. Alfred nods his head, saying that he's right and that he should probably get back on Crane's trail. As the GCPD is finally cleared of the militia army that attacked it, Batman calms into Robin, asking if he has synthesized an antidote for Joker's blood. But there is only silence on the other line, so Batman tells Oracle that he is heading over to Panessa Studios to check in on Tim. But before he could get into the building, both militia and thug bodies were hanging from the walls and railings, as well as severed heads on spikes. A figure drops down in a suit of armor, resembling a mix of a medieval knight and Batman himself. Azrael raises his hands in the air, telling Batman that he has failed Gotham for the last time, and that he will be its new Batman, its new protector. Batman shouts out for Azrael to tell him where Robin is, or he'll be breathing out of a tube for the rest of his life. Azrael looks to the side, telling Batman that his misguided wards are right here, under his protection. Stripped of their gadgets and weapons, Robin and Nightwing are dragged out by cultists, and being held with knives to their throats. Azrael shouts out that they'll be fine, as long as Batman does exactly what he tells him to do. Batman snaps back, saying that he doesn't take orders from a psychopath, and that he will put him down. Azrael motions for his cultists to take Batman's utility belt and other weapons. He won't be needing those. Batman attempts to fight back, but is told by Azrael that resisting will cost them their lives. Batman then relinquishes his belt to them, as Azrael tells Batman to look around, see the bodies of those who wish to cause Gotham harm. This is the true and only way to free Gotham of the madness that has enveloped it, yet he refuses to do so. He goes on to say that he has honor and will not simply take the mantle of the Batman without first proving his superiority to him. The cultists, weapons in their hands, form a circle around Batman as Azrael jumps down. He takes the sword and claw from off of his belt, the laser from off his left gauntlet, the darts and the cross shurikens, and gives them to several cultists. He explains that this is a trial by combat, and whoever wins this fight wins Gotham. Without hesitation, Azrael lunges at Batman, throwing fast punches and kicks as an attempt to disorient him. Batman easily countered these moves as they were his own, with slight variations. Knowing that Azrael knew all of his moves, he had to incorporate other fighting styles that he had not used in years as a measure of unpredictability to throw Azrael off. Even though Azrael was quick to adapt fighting styles, Batman's unpredictability was starting to throw him off, and he was starting to get beat by Batman. Nevertheless, this fight never got easier for Batman, as he was getting punched by heavy metal gauntlets that were starting to put cracks in his armor. As Batman was getting the upper hand, a knife shot out from under Azrael's gauntlet, which he quickly used to stab Batman in the stomach. As he falls down, Azrael picks him up, saying that there is no such thing as a fair fight, and that Batman should have expected this, being the world's greatest detective. Batman chuckles, telling Azrael that he did all this study on him, and yet he's learned nothing. Just then, the ground started to shake as a horde of bats came flying towards them, surrounding them with so much force and speed that everyone essentially lost vision. Azrael stumbles back as Batman punches him hard in the helmet, cracking it. He leans over to Azrael, telling him that his suit is much more than just armor, it's a gadget. Not being able to see in front of him, Azrael throws out punches and kicks in the void of the bats, missing Batman entirely, and opening him up for a beatdown. Using the panic of the bats, Nightwing and Robin free themselves as they begin to take down the terrified cultists. Panessa Studios was surrounded in a tornado of bats, as the screams of fear from the cultists were being drowned out by the sheer volume of the bats. Once they all flew away, all that was left was Nightwing and Robin standing over a group of knocked out cultists, and Batman standing triumphantly against Azrael. He takes off his helmet, putting his foot to his throat, and says that Gotham will never belong to him or the Order, before slamming it down. He then calls an oracle, saying that they are going to need a squad of officers to bring these cultists and Azrael to the precinct jail. He then calls Alfred, telling him to track any signs of activity from the Order of Saint Dumas. That will be their next target after they've dealt with the Arkham Knight. He walks over to Dick and Tim, telling them that they did well and that he's proud of them, and will gladly let either one of them take the mantle of Batman when he can't anymore. Dick thanks him, but says that he hopes that never happens. Alfred comes back to Bruce, saying that he has a lock on Crane's signal. He's got his back against the wall. Now's the time to strike. Bruce acknowledges, saying that they have work to do. And that's the end of my story. Thank you so much for watching this video. Azrael is a character that I've always thought was really cool, but his gameplay and story in Arkham Knight sucked. I wanted to make sure in this video that not only did I rewrite the side quest, but I also wanted to rewrite his gameplay, including his way of traversal and his gadgets, as these go a long way into making his character feel so much more unique than he was in the original game. I mean, the fact that he could glide with just a few flaps he had as a cape made no sense, and I hated how his kit was just Batman's, but with less gadgets. Even though it's not as bad with Harley or Red Hood, I feel Rocksteady got lazy with its new playable characters, except for Batgirl, and Azrael is the worst offender. He's just a reskinned Batman with no unique gadgets or combat moves. I mean, some people may say, yeah, but he studied Batman's fighting style identically, so it would be the same. But I know this was done out of laziness, so that they didn't have to worry about coming up with a moveset for him. If you look back at all the other playable characters before Arkham Knight, Joker, Robin, Nightwing, Catwoman, and Batman, they all play different to each other and have their own gadgets. This same treatment should have been given to Azrael as well. But anyway, let me know what you thought about this story in the comments below. Did you like it, or was the original better? I'd love to hear what you guys think. Be sure to join the Discord server where you can post your own stories, as well as checking out my second channel, Rewriter Gaming, where I stream some of my favorite games and hang with you all. The links for both of those are in the description below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps out the channel. But thanks again everyone, and this is the Rewriter, writing out.